that, we are going to call Miss Polly today and ask her a couple questions about teenagers.
Theme music.
No music today.
We're not playing today.
We're not playing the jingle today. Miss Polly, we have Jolie on as a special guest today.
Hi.
and we're talking about, and I know you remember some of this, we were talking about all Jolie's struggles at the dance studio when the girls were so mean to her.
Yes.
Yeah, and how horrible that was. And we're just talking in general now about all kinds of, I want to know from you, how can teens not fall into peer pressure?
So I kind of think that, because it's been a while since, I dealt with teen peer pressure. And I think peer pressure has changed in a lot of ways, especially with the advent of social media and the fact that bullying is so much, there's so many different avenues they can bully you on. It's not a face-to-face thing anymore.
Right.
In that regard. And I came from a small town, and it was more along the lines of, you were considered a bad person if you had sex before,
What?
It's just a totally different world. So
what are the statistics about teen sexual activity these days?
Well, I looked up, especially, from the CDC, because that's really who handles a lot of that information. And we're looking at 55% of male and female teens have had intercourse before the age of 18.
55%?
Which is kind of scary. 55%.
What was it before?
I think the previous was like 41 to 42%.
Oh, wow. So it's going up majorly.
Well, there are like I'm sorry, but my best friend sent me a girl's Instagram. She goes, "This is my new favorite 13-year-old to stalk." And this girl is like, looks like she's 25 and like a thong and like, ugh. I mean, I think social media is.
What are the parents? I always wonder, like, what are the parents doing?
Yeah, where are the parents?
Like,
I
really?
wonder the same thing.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you consider what they're posting.
Right.
And a lot of these glam shots and makeup tutorials and clothing is, and I know it's just hypersexual in a lot of ways. And I don't think that's a bad thing when you've reached, 18, 19, but you're an adult at that point, even though, it's just, I think girls are growing up so quickly, and they've been asked to grow up so quickly.
Right.
And it's hard because you have other teens that are like, oh, what do you mean you haven't gone all the way? What are you waiting for? You just get it out of the way and just, you're going to lose your boyfriend if you don't. I mean, so there's ways to stop that from happening and to
your high school boyfriend.
Yeah. Jolie would be like, bye.
Well, yeah.
Keep that attitude.
Well, and that's good. Because here's the thing, not every person your age is having sex. Even when somebody feels like everybody else is doing it, not everybody is.
Right.
And
what are the dangers of sexually transmitted diseases that when I was researching teenage stuff, I saw that is like getting out of control.
What?
What's it?
It is.
Man, really?
Mm-hmm.
HPV is probably the number one sexually transmitted disease is HPV, the human papillomavirus.
What's the percentage on that?
There's also, of course,
What's the percentage of that, of HPV?
That I don't know off the top of my head. I'm going to have to look up a little bit more.
Now, is it in general, that HPV, or are you talking about with teens?
Actually, one of the five most common. It's is blah 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 blah. Most common amongst teens because what I hate to admit is that they don't use birth control or condoms, okay? Because they don't know how to get them, or they don't know where to get them.
You think it's out of embarrassment a lot of times also? Like just embarrassed to talk about it?
Of course. Yes.
They're
embarrassed to talk about it.
Well, we've talked about it before.
Especially
I feel
with
like,
their parents.
the parents that are the most like strict about it and don't have open dialogue with their kids are the worst kids.
Right.
And I can speak from actually speaking to kids who had really strict parents.
Right.
And I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
Stressful.
So, Jolie,
so they're the ones that are doing everything.
Yeah.
So do you have friends who, I mean, I don't know if do your friends have these kind of conversations?
One of my friends had a boyfriend before, and she told like the entire school that they had that. And then I was like, we all thought that she was crazy. Like none of us were like, oh, you're so cool. All of us were like, you're literally insane.
The awesome thing though is like, how many kids are at your school?
20. 18 to 20 kids.
Okay.
They're it's so small, so you don't have that like.
But that's why this school is so amazing.
Well, the school doesn't have quite the peer pressure that a bigger school would have.
Right. That's why we love it so much.
20 people in the class.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
Remember, I went to private school
But
I
still-
went to private school my entire life, and I felt like, my graduating class was 18 people.
Oh, so you were small
you're
too.
small too.
And there were more like dirty, skanky girls my age. And I'm serious, yes. Because just like you said, Marcella, that the stricter parents tended to have the kids that were the worst. And,
I think it's more the uptight. Like sometimes strict, like you have to kind of see what you're strict about. Like it's like, I feel like the uptight parents that can never talk about anything, or that have no relationship anymore once the kids turn into teenage. Like they don't talk to them at all. There's like no way of, they don't feel comfortable talking,
Well, I think the thing about it is that to talk about sex or anything like that, that's very taboo. I mean, it's uncomfortable more for parents than I'm serious. You guys are a unicorn family for sure. But that's a great thing, because I feel pretty confident in assuming that if, Jolie, you had questions, you could feel confident talking to your sister or your mom, or maybe even your brother about it. I'd say more your sister or your mom. But,
I think Gina would be a little bit stressed about it.
I'm stressed now.